afternoon, welcome to Premier League Live for another double header of Premier League commentaries this Sunday afternoon here on LFS as we start with our big game of the day. It is Derby Day in North London as Tottenham and Arsenal face off for the very first time this season, and two sides that maybe have differing international breaks with injuries and problems, but could it be that Tottenham get their first win in 7 games against Arsenal here this afternoon? Will they get a better chance to do it? On Arsenal side, we probably have to dig deep with a few changes into their midfield. Could that disrupt their pretty good form to start the season, winning 2 of their first 3 and unbeaten after 3 games? Will that remain the case? It didn't remain the case for Spurs, who lost last time out away at Newcastle. We watch Newcastle a bit later on this afternoon as they head to Wolves in the 4:30 kickoff a bit later on. But the derby is the one to watch this afternoon between Spurs and Arsenal, and we'll keep you right up to date with it. Already this weekend we've seen some fantastic results and some big shocks as well. Manchester United beating Southampton by 3-0. It means Southampton have lost all of their first 4 games this season and only scored just 1 goal this campaign. Brighton and Ipswich both failed to score in their game in 0-0. 2-2 between Crystal Palace and Leicester. Another draw between Fulham and West Ham. And a huge shock at Anfield as Liverpool lost to Nottingham Forest for the first time since 1969. City again scoring 2 goals through Erling Haaland to secure a victory over Brentford, and Villa coming from 2-0 down to beat Everton 3-2. It's the second consecutive game that Everton have led 2-0 and lost 3-2. And Bournemouth, who were the victors against Everton last time out, they were beaten at home last night through Christopher Nkunku's goal for Chelsea to secure 3 points. But it's the derby that is the key point this afternoon, and it's not actually white v red today. It's actually white v black, with Arsenal's away kit being chosen. Some would say that's a bit strange. I would agree with that, because why would they not play in their home kit? There's no reason to. But let's move to the teams and see how they line up. Guillermo Vicario starts in goal for Tottenham. A pretty strong back 4 with Pedro Porro, Christian Romero, Mickey van de Ven and Destiny Udogie in the defence. Rodrigo Bentancur is joined alongside James Maddison and Dejan Kulusevski in midfield, with a very attacking Spurs midfield and forward line, with Johnson off the right, Heung-min Son the captain off the left, and Dominic Solanke leading the line. Of course, signed by Spurs, got injured, could be making his first big involvement for Tottenham this afternoon, and certainly wants to get his goal tally up and running. For the Gunners, there's been a few injuries that have tested them over the international break, including their captain and one of their star midfielders in Declan Rice. David Raya starts in goal for Arsenal. Ben White, William Saliba, Gabriel and Urian Timber make up an unchanged back 4 from their draw with Brighton. Thomas Partey continues in midfield alongside Jorginho, who captains the side, and Leandro Trossard drops a bit deeper. Bukayo Saka continues on the right, Martinelli off the left, and Kai Havertz continues to lead the line for Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus is back on the bench, and of course, with Martin Odegaard out for at least 3 weeks, he will not be involved against City as well next weekend. It could be a costly injury for the Gunners. They also don't have Declan Rice for this game after he was sent off with a second yellow card against Brighton. Controversially so, but that was all cleared up over the international break. It is a strange matchup of colourings this afternoon, as I said, with Spurs in all white and Arsenal in all black, with those red trimmings and green trimmings in their kit this afternoon. Our referee this afternoon is Jared Gillett of Australia. Our foreign referee. He's done very well, Jared Gillett, and gets this huge game to oversee on this really important game that over the years has been a decider for maybe a top 4 place, or even maybe just these two sides getting the spoils of this battle. But this time it could be a season where both sides have a lot on the line for what they want. Arsenal already in catch-up for the title race with Manchester City, who have gone 5 points clear before they play this afternoon, albeit still very early in the season. But it's all about Arsenal making sure that they remain untouched heading into this one and remain unbeaten leaving this stadium this afternoon. A Spurs side who were beaten last time out, but they want to bounce back, and no better way to motivate yourself than a North London derby, which gets us underway. That whistle from Jared Gillett, and Arsenal get us going in one of the best stadiums in the land, in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Stadium well fitting of this huge affair. The meeting last season was an absolute cracker, a 5-goal thriller here between Spurs and Arsenal. It's always a hyped up, precious game, one of the best games of the season in terms of the football that is played between these two sides. It's arguably one of the best derbies in the Premier League for just how much action and drama that it causes. And Arsenal already have their first corner, of which Saka will go over to take. Arsenal looking to start quickly, and Bukayo Saka over to take this corner on the right hand side. Arsenal love a set piece goal. Saka's delivery cleared away at the front post by Pedro Porro as Jorginho spins back, tries to put Arsenal back in the box, but Kai Havertz was seen out well there by Romero, and as Spurs clear their lines, it just rolls out of play. Actually, it stayed in play there. For a moment it looked like it rolled out of play, but Saliba kept it in. That's an interesting lineup from Spurs today. That very attacking midfield with the likes of Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison. The only real naturally defensive-minded midfielder there for Spurs is Rodrigo Bentancur. So they're really committed in trying to obviously put 5 real attacking-focused players up against an Arsenal defence that last season was the best defence in the league. This season already only conceded 1 goal, the joint best defence after Liverpool conceded yesterday. They were the only side yet to concede, but they did concede yesterday, of course, Liverpool. So both Liverpool and Arsenal have just conceded the 1 goal. Spurs, contrastingly, they've only conceded 3, so it's not dreadful from a Spurs point of view in terms of conceding goals, but when they play Arsenal, it's never easy to keep a clean sheet, very rare. They haven't kept a clean sheet in any of the last 4 meetings against the Gunners. Last time they kept a clean sheet against them was in May 2022, and they won 3-0 here. The 4 games since, they've conceded at least 2 goals on all 4 occasions, have Tottenham. Here's Romero, Bentancur to Christian Romero. Spurs looking to control the possession early on. Here's Van de Ven to Romero, all inside the Arsenal half as the ball delivered across, but too high in there. Son will look to keep it alive. He tries to win a corner off Ben White, but keeps it in, does Heung-min Son. Battling with Ben White, does really well to play the ball back to Udogie. Van de Ven to Romero again. Arsenal not looking to press the centre-backs of Tottenham at the moment, but that's a misplaced pass, and Udogie had already escaped. And now here comes Saka. Havertz. A loose pass from Spurs, but that's not the best of passes from Havertz. And Martinelli commits the foul, which gets Spurs the free kick. And this, it was just a mistake, a bit too casual from Tottenham at the back. It's the ball across the centre-backs, and Romero just tries to play it across to Udogie, and Udogie had already broke down the left flank, and the gap just rolled it out to Udogie, who was not there. Arsenal just intercepting that one. I think everybody was a bit shocked at how short the pass was. Even Arsenal players were a bit stunned by it, but in the end Spurs don't end up paying any sort of price for that little mistake. Here's Udogie. Son back to Destiny Udogie. Heung-min Son tried to squeeze it through the lines, but Partey got a bit excited when he got the ball and goes straight out of play for a throw into Tottenham. It's all about finding the rhythm early on. Patrick in the chat says 2-0 to Arsenal. Don't know if it will be that easy of a task today for the Gunners. Here comes Solanke, plays in Son. Son with a cutback, in the shot is palmed behind by David Raya for the corner. Dejan Kulusevski has the shot. It's a really nice infield ball by a doggy. Finds Solanke, who drifts on the outside. Son comes on the inside, and Son just bricks into the box. Solanke does really well to find him, and then the cut back straight under the foot of Kulusevski, who has a shot from close range, parried behind for the corner. Positive start from the home side, as Madison takes the corner here for Spurs. Right footed delivery, deep to the back post, but David Raya had tracked it all the way and gathered it comfortably. And now Arsenal want to spring a counter, but Martinelli will be well covered over there, and Vicario will get to that one and play it beautifully to his fullback, who now tries to ping it forward for Solanke, but too much for him to bring down. Arsenal a bit loose in midfield as Madison now finds a doggy. Back to Madison. And Graham says, as a Liverpool fan, I need Spurs to put a smile back on my face. Did Everton not do that last night? Here's a doggy up against Saka, and Saka tracking back does well as White clears, but it's more damage imitation there from Ben White. It goes out for a Spurs throw. Have to say, Spurs over 80% possession so far. Arsenal just maybe sitting off Tottenham a bit at the moment. As I mentioned just before that little mistake pass, they're not pressing the centre-backs. Arsenal, they're just sitting and trying to compact midfield. So far Spurs trying to get the benefit, and Martinelli tracking back, has to put it behind for the corner. They look to be a much better sharpness at the moment to Spurs. Just look like they're finding the passes they want, getting the spaces they want early on, and getting quite a few set pieces out of those situations. Another corner, this time from the right hand side, drifted in, headed away by Havertz. Porro finds Kulusevski again. He will deliver again, and all the way through, and a big palm by Raya. I don't know how it found its way through, but it did. And David Raya called into action again. See this again. The corner cleared away. Porro plays it out to Kulusevski, and he just comes onto it, takes the touch, drifts it in with his left, and I don't know if it comes off Brennan Johnson, but it comes very close to getting into the net, and David Raya has to throw a right hand at it to clear it away. Spurs are knocking on the door very early here. Kulusevski, lovely touch. Kulusevski! Charged down well by Gabriel. And Arsenal holding on desperately, clinging on in these early few moments. It's been all Tottenham. Although here comes Martinelli to try and give that Arsenal defence a bit of a reprieve. It's been 8 minutes of pure control and domination from Tottenham. The switch ball didn't work to Saka. A doggy, though, headed it back to White. A nice Saka on the right flank for Arsenal. Back to Ben White, looking for the link up. Saka on the run. Saka in behind with a cross, and Porro has to clear it away. Jorginho. Now Timber. And Martinelli got a bit caught with the ball. Timber looking to find his teammate again, but the header is just a bit too far ahead of the Brazilian, and Spurs will get the throw in. It's been an electric start. Said it's one of the most entertaining derbies because these two do not want to play for a draw. They're desperate to win from the very first minute. You know, you consider a lot of derbies where they're quite tetchy and cagey and both sides looking to defend better than attack and looking to hold on to a clean sheet. But at the minute, this derby is always full out attack from both teams. And here comes Son again for Spurs. His pass isn't quite accurate, but Bentancur was there to mop it up. Here is Heung-min Son. Back across to Romero. Now Madison. Finds Son, who's gone central. Drifting into that half space as Son trying to dribble his way through a few. Does find a doggy. Now Madison. Porro. Finding Brennan Johnson, who's come very wide there out to the touchline, but back it goes to Romero. Patience for the moment for Spurs, waiting for the right opportunity to pounce. Here's a doggy. Nice Son. He felt he was fouled, and the referee does agree. Free kick to Tottenham. And the referee did have a quick second to have a think about it. The doggies passed to Son. He's stretching for it, and so was White. Son got there first, and Ben White got the right boot of Son, so free kick goes the way of the home side. 10 minutes gone, 0-0. But it's certainly been a electric start inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for this North London derby. Maybe not a battle for the top positions in the league, but it is certainly no doubting what it means to win a derby like this. And James Maddison standing over this free kick for Tottenham, looking to get a whip delivery into the box. His target's in there. Can he find one of them? Maddison, right-footed, bit low. It's cleared away that time by Havertz, who dropped back in. Wasn't the best of free kicks from James Maddison as Arsenal get a throw in across the halfway line. Saka will not take it. Ben White is going to take it, but he's going to be pushed back here a bit. They stole a few 2 yards. A couple of yards that the referee wants to claim back and get them around the halfway line again. And that completely eradicated any chance of a quick throw in there from Arsenal. White. It's back to Saliba and now back to Raya. Looks to dump it long, but the most accurate of ones, although Havertz did get his head to it, but it will fall back for a doggy who passes back to Vicario. Maybe a bit of control, just slightly flowing into the game. A passing accuracy of 91% for Spurs so far to Arsenal's 66.7. The crisp and sharpness and the precision of the Tottenham passes so far has been quite wonderful to watch. Arsenal stumbling and bumbling their way through so far. And they've given away another cheap free kick there. Urian Timber on Brennan Johnson, and the referee's just going to have a chat with Urian Timber there as he walks away. Just seeing that, he's just grabbing a hold of Brennan Johnson, and then they get in a bit of a tussle. It sees both go to ground, but that's a custom of a derby. There's always a bit of grappling and pulling and very physical nature. Van de Ven down the left. Son flicks it on, looking for the on-running a doggy who skipped forward there but just came off his arm, so the referee's going to pull it back for a free kick to Arsenal. Well, of course, the big storylines of the week for Arsenal, as I mentioned in my team news part, Martin Odegaard, their captain, their leader, their real motivator in the side. How will Arsenal cope in such a big game, one of their toughest games of the season away at Tottenham, without their captain? And I think Arsenal want to make this a real battle, a real physical tussle. I don't think Arsenal want to out-football Spurs in a sense today. I think they want to really make it a dog fight, a real tough task for Spurs. Give away free kicks, make it very tetchy and angry. That will more benefit Arsenal this afternoon, albeit they still have a major amount of quality to outplay Spurs on the basis of things. But I think it would just benefit Arsenal a bit more if they do go for that more raggedy-edged game. Whereas Spurs having the free-flowing football, the quick possession, the high-tempo match, just will benefit Spurs more with being more comfortable with their side and their team. Oh, that's a giveaway at the back here from Ben White, and Solanke couldn't take his chance. Took far too long on the ball, did Dominic Solanke. That was a gifted opportunity. Goodness me, had the goal at his mercy there. Again, Spurs gave it away a few moments ago in the game, playing around the back, and Ben White did exactly the same there for Arsenal. Tried to square it across the edge of his own 18-yard box, and Solanke was there to steal it away. Although here come Arsenal on the counter. Here's Urian Timber looking for the cross, just a bit too high, as pumped away by Porro. Goodness me, it's end to end all of a sudden, as Saliba ultimately giving away the free kick there, and he's going to get a yellow card as well. I think it might have been after the free kick. I think he might have kicked the ball away there, William Saliba, which is really naive. You think Arsenal would have learnt about that, considering what happened in the last game. William Saliba a bit dragged into that little battle in a bitty game, but Jorginho just having a chat with the referee there, the Arsenal captain. The yellow card will go the way of the Arsenal centre-back, William Saliba. The first player to be booked. Certainly haven't had a time to take a breath. It's probably the first time we've had a chance to take a breath in the first 15 minutes of this one. That's why we love it, though. I adore this game. And the fourth official there on the sidelines having a chat with one of the Arsenal coaches. Martinelli just clipped there slightly. Will be a free kick. It's one thing the referee has to find a fine line in between allowing the game to flow but also not letting it get carried away. I think giving an early yellow card might just settle the players and kind of stop them from making silly little challenges, and the referee kind of putting a stamp on the game early doors. But cheap free kicks is certainly something we don't want to see in a game like this. And that's a lovely free kick though. Finds Timber. Finds Trossard, who will break out down the left. Haven't seen much of Leandro Trossard so far. Not seen much of any Arsenal player really so far, other than their defenders. That's a lovely ball by Trossard. Finds Timber. Timber in the box, and this shot well charged down. Seems like the momentum has probably swung in Arsenal's favour the last few minutes. Although Saliba getting in a tussle again. He's going to get the free kick here. He was kind of climbed all over there by two Spurs players. I think the game has turned very tetchy all of a sudden. And again, you can really see that Arsenal trying to get the benefit of that. As here comes Martinelli. Speeds past his man. The cross. Havertz! Goodness me, Vicario combining with one of his defenders there. And he did grab the ball in the end, but that was a nervy second or two for Tottenham. Great cross by Martinelli. Chips it into the box, and Havertz just got up there. Well past his man. And it's just Vicario making the save up against Romero, and ultimately it does go into the hands of Vicario, but that was a nervy moment maybe for Tottenham, who have maybe lost a bit of way in the last few minutes. They want to claw it back, but as expected this game will ebb and flow the whole way through. And both sides in action in midweek, although here comes Son. Udogie. Both of the Arsenal wingers, Saka and Martinelli, have seen early doors, have got back, have tracked their man. Certainly not allowed Spurs freedom in the wide areas so far. Here's Bentancur, tried to squeeze it through the middle. Solanke there getting involved, a real tussle. The referee lets it flow. And now Martinelli wants to break away for the Gunners, down the left. Just takes his time and turns back. The ball fed through for Trossard, and Martinelli gets the break of the ball. He's got Saka. Martinelli has the shot straight at Vicario. Goodness me. Could he have passed it to Saka for a tap in? Or was that the better option? Certainly it was a fortunate ball. Darted towards Trossard, and Trossard, as he was being closed down, just pumped it forward. Just put real pace behind it. And maybe a slice of luck going Martinelli's way that it found him through the lines, but goodness me, could he have played Saka in? Van de Ven. Madison. Spurs just trying to slow the tempo of the game, just really trying to take control of the game again. Arsenal are getting their teeth into it. They've had 3 of the last 5 shots in the game, so Arsenal's certainly showing more joy in the last few minutes in the final third. That's what I mean by it being a more tetchy, more kind of stop-starty game, benefiting Arsenal. Whereas the more control and the more kind of possession-based the game is, from a Spurs point of view, that will benefit them. Maddison. Romero. 20 minutes gone in the North London derby. Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0. Solanke dropping deeper, helping out Bentancur. Finds it out to Brennan Johnson. Johnson wants to take on his man. Cuts it back for Bentancur as he went to the ground there. As the ball left his feet, but game continues. Maddison. Bentancur. Out wide to Johnson again, who's really adding the width to this Spurs attack. Really trying to stretch the Arsenal defence. Or Tottenham at this moment in time. As Maddison tries to squeeze his way through, and the ball crossed into the box, and the keeper, goodness me, had spilt it, but he was fouled there by Dominic Solanke. The cross came in and it took a slight deflection, and Solanke thought, why not go and try and grab it? I don't think there's much in that, to be honest. Solanke just puts himself in the area. I think Raya just miscontrols that slightly. Maybe a bit lucky there, the Arsenal keeper. But the referee erring on the side of caution with the goalkeeper and giving him the benefit of the doubt. And a free kick for the Arsenal keeper. Vicario playing it into a high-pressured area. Arsenal pressing, and Van de Ven having to get it away before Saka stole it off him in the box and goes out for an Arsenal throw. Ben White trying to find Saka in behind. He will get the touch off Destiny Udogie. It will be a corner. Have to see this chance for Gabriel Martinelli again. The ball played to Trossard, and Trossard just feeds it through the lines. A beautiful pass. And then he's got Saka square to his right hand side, and he just tries to curl it, but gets nowhere near enough on it, Martinelli. And it just goes right into the hands of a diving Vicario. I mean, it's a pretty easy save for the Spurs keeper, and Saka was an option. And Saka will now take this corner for Arsenal. Delivered with the left foot. Vicario with a punch. Trossard charged down. Saliba kept it alive. Saka to deliver again to the back post, and the header is drifted into the air, but into the hands of the Spurs keeper. Goodness me, end to end, the Spurs want to pump it up the field again, and Kulusevski battling now. He wants to get a chance, but Arsenal hold on well there. Honestly, it's end to end all of a sudden. Jorginho. Well, as I mentioned, it was a real battle here last season. Arsenal cruised into a 3-0 lead in the first half here last season. Then Spurs gave them a late scare with Christian Romero, and then Heung-min Son's penalty 3 minutes from time made it 3-2. Spurs were on a late dash charge to try and get that late equaliser. Arsenal did hold on and got the 3-2 win, but that's how tight it was last season. Both of those games last campaign and the reverse fixture last season ended in a 2-2 draw. It's the only draw there has been in this meeting since they drew in September 2019. To combine that together, that's 8 of the last 9 games between these two have all ended in one side or the other winning the game. Only 1 draw in the last 9 North London derbies. 2 in the last 10. So when one gets a chance, they usually take it. And usually they see it out for 3 points. But not always. It's not always a given, as Brennan Johnson did really well there. Just looked like he was trying to rescue it for to take it away, but he kept it in play. Arsenal thought they were getting a throw in there, but Spurs kept it. Maddison. Van de Ven. Down the left-hand side comes Son, up against Saka, who's dropped in again. Help out defensively. Maddison. Now Bentancur. Madison. It's Arsenal stubbornly in and around the edge of their box. Spurs just trying to find a way to break them down. They found a little gap for Solanke through the middle, and Madison couldn't flick it round the corner for Bentancur, so it goes back to Romero. Spurs haven't had a shot in the last 10 minutes of the game, so certainly Arsenal finding a bit of solidity, although the cross is into the hands of Raya pretty comfortably from the cross on the byline. And now Havertz trying to find Saka, but Saka wasn't on the same page, and Udogie spotted the pass. Now plays it off to Kulusevski. Tries to find Udogie. Is he offside? Well, it doesn't matter. He was offside anyway, but as Raya picked it up, so nonetheless it wouldn't have mattered because he was in an offside position. But again, Spurs trying to feed it in behind quickly. Lovely combination play again, but Kulusevski with a loose pass, and then as Udogie tries to win it back, Saka ends up on the floor, and a yellow card is going to go Destiny Udogie's way. Goodness me. 3 or 4 things happening at once. Keeping up with it is incredibly difficult at this moment, but Udogie gets a yellow card because after Kulusevski gave the ball away, Udogie tried to win it back and ultimately upended Bukayo Saka, which sees him in the book. So 1 yellow card apiece. Even they can't even be separated on that front in this game. Jorginho gives it away in the midfield. Kulusevski run into a brick wall in William Saliba. And now he wants to turn defence into attack here for Arsenal. Trossard misplaced this pass. Spurs get the benefit. Now Van de Ven wants to break forward as it comes through the lines. Out to Son on the left flank. Now Madison in the box, looking to drift it to the back post, and the header is looping and just wide by Dominic Solanke. Raya was stretching, he wasn't getting there, and it just went narrowly wide. Son does really well, cuts it back to Madison, and Madison just sees Solanke in a one-on-one battle at the back post and tries to loop it to that back post. Does so really well, and Solanke's header bounces as it just goes wide, and Raya wasn't going to get there if it had have dropped in, but Solanke came very, very close. Well, Dominic Solanke, who joined Spurs for more than £50 million in the summer, of course, has had an injury issue since joining. He made just one previous appearance, was involved in that Leicester game, which he got that issue. This is his first big appearance since, of course, so he missed those last 2 games. A 4-0 win against Everton, and the defeat of Newcastle, the 2-1 defeat against Newcastle just before the international break. Havertz does well, wins the battle, finds Martinelli, tried to return the ball, as nipping the ball away, tried to be Jorginho there, but now Arsenal have a bit of defending to do as Romero came away with it. Now Kulusevski. Here's Brennan Johnson. Doesn't want to keep that attack flowing pretty quickly and goes back to Bentancur, finds Udogie. Nice Son. Chased all the way by White. Back to Madison. Bentancur. Son back to Udogie. Just a game of patience from Spurs. Arsenal set up really well. And one thing I do notice, each time Spurs come to one side or the other, whether it's the left or the right hand side, Arsenal go into kind of a back five with either one of their wingers, either Saka or Martinelli, dropping in either side, and the cross coming in just goes over the head of everyone in there as Son picks it up on the left, cuts it back for a doggy. Bit of space here for Spurs. Maddison closed down well there as he goes back to Son to whip it, but too far wide as Brennan Johnson ended up on the floor there, which got a wry cheer from the home crowd, but the referee sees nothing wrong with that moment. But as I was saying, each time that Spurs break forward with width, I talked about the five of Spurs breaking forward of Maddison, Kulusevski, Johnson, Solanke and Son. How Arsenal are counteracting that one-man overload on the face of things is where, when they're sitting deep or when they're defending those positions against the front five of Spurs, they're just dropping a fullback or a winger in alongside the back four. They just try and match them up man for man at the back, in a sense, with either Saka dropping in if Spurs come down the left-hand side and Martinelli dropping in on the other side if they go down the right flank, do Spurs. So that's how Arsenal are trying to counteract that moment so far. But that can be risky, going man for man at the back five, because runners that move positions with the likes of a Bentancur, who's been breaking up the game really well so far, that can really add a different dynamic. And the movement when you go man to man, when it goes really quick, you can lose your man pretty quickly. And there's going to be a yellow card here heading Bentancur's way, because he's just committed a foul on Havertz, and the referee, I think, has just said it's the second time. Yeah, he did it first, and then that's not a yellow card for me. The second one's not really much. I mean, the second one is a foul, but the first one's not really much to say that it's a back-to-back foul. And Rodrigo Bentancur has got a yellow card, which is his third of the season, so has to watch himself, remember. You're only allowed 5 yellow cards before you get a one-match ban for the first half of the season. So we're only 4 games into the season, so we're a long way from that halfway mark. So Bentancur has to watch himself in the next few games. Havertz, Saka, back to White. Spins it wide. That's a lovely crossfield ball. Finds Martinelli. Back to Timber. Looking for the space here, Arsenal. Timber finds Martinelli. Gets to take on his man. Cuts it back for a free Timber. Timber looking to cross it, but well closed down by Cristiano Romero. Corner for Arsenal. It's better control from Arsenal. In the first few moments we saw them really kind of panic when they got on the ball. Really kind of loose in their passing and quite unpredictable in that sense of whether they were going to get the pass or not. And a few giveaways, cheap giveaways at that, were letting them down and really applying that extra pressure onto their defence. But they've kind of cleaned that up a bit as the game's gone on, and they've started to get the benefit of it. As here comes the corner, and Swinger all the way through, and Vicario had committed himself, but he got a bit lucky. He was certainly flapping at the ball. I think he might have got a touch on that. I don't know if he did. I think it is a corner. They have given a corner. I think Vicario was claiming that it was a goal kick, but you could clearly see from the replay that he did get a hand to it, albeit very little touch, but he did get something on the ball. And Arsenal will have another corner, this time on the opposing side, but nervy one there. That in-swinger just went right the way through. And Saka will deliver again from this right-hand side. Right. As the referee just sorting out a few issues. Gabriel and Romero getting in each other's business, as we always see defending corners and attacking corners. A lot of pushing and shoving and grappling for position. There's quite a number of Arsenal bodies at the back post again, and they'll run to the front post as the corner is ready to be taken. Saka goes low. Oh, that has to be one of the worst corners I've seen in recent history. That's terrible. That's really bad. I mean, considering that the Spurs keeper did not look convincing from the previous corner, you're not going to put it on him again. They just make a waste of that corner, Arsenal. They're coming back at Spurs here again with Martinelli. Tried to run his way through Porro, but Kulusevski there was on as backup. Was there as backup and defended that position well, although he's fallen to the floor there of his own accord. And Timber try to win the battle. I think that's a bit loose, and he went in hard, and it's all happening now. There's another yellow card's coming out, and it's all boiled over. They're ready to attack each other. They're going at each other now. I think emotions are getting a bit too high here. Everybody needs to remain calm. It's got a bit... I said it was getting a bit tetchy as the game went on, and now it's got really tetchy. And the referee has a decision to make. He gave out a yellow card. I have no idea to who. I think it might have been Uri and Timber maybe for the challenge. But Porro's on the floor. He is in immense pain at the minute. The referee gave it yellow. Spurs are arguing that it's red. VAR might need to get involved here. And now they're going to check everything after that. Our VAR. So it's a real tough one to call here. We'll see this again. And Kulishevsky just loses his way. And then Timber just goes in a battle with Porro. I mean, he does get something on it. But again, I don't think a red card is right there, to be honest. Because it's a genuine attempt to get the ball, Uri and Timber. And he does catch Pedro Porro, but there's no malice. There's no kind of, I'm going to absolutely take the man out. There's no intention of that, albeit intention doesn't really matter. But I don't think it's a red card. I think that would be harsh if it was given. I think a yellow card is going to stand here because you just see it, he rolls over the ball, and Porro there too. I mean, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, really. A yellow card's pretty fair. And then Vicario gets all involved, and then Timber just gets a grip of Vicario, and then it just sends everything into madness all of a sudden. I mean, crazy. Well, that's the temperature and the emotions of a derby. And now Vicario's going to get a yellow card for his involvement in all that scuffling, and I think that's pretty fair because he squared up to Uri and Timber for no real reason. So Spurs goalkeeper's going to get a yellow card as well. And after last night, when we saw the most yellow cards ever in a Premier League game, 14 in total, we're not too far off that already. And we're only in the first half here as Vicario gets booked. So just to recap that whole situation for you. Timber goes to win the ball. He rolls over it slightly. He gets the ball, but as he goes over the ball, he catches Pedro Porro. And Porro was battling for the ball. He was kind of going over the ball as well. So it's kind of more of a collision. I think a yellow card is a fair result. And then as Timber got away, Vicario kind of stood up to him and kind of got involved unnecessarily. And then all the drama kind of boiled over. And ultimately, Timber and Vicario both get yellow cards. So there are now 5 yellow cards in the game. 3 for Tottenham, 2 for Arsenal. So quite a number of yellows already. With around 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes to go in the first half. This has just broke up the game a bit more. It's just kind of broke up the momentum in the game, the rhythm in the game. And I have to be honest that for me that only benefits Arsenal, to be honest. White, Saliba back to Raya. Will go long. Looking for Havertz. He does get a slight flick, and Saka tries to break in behind a doggy, but Van de Ven had that one well closed off and put it out for the throw-in. Ben White to take this throw for Arsenal. Right hand side. A goal before half time for either of these two teams would be huge. As White tried to find Saka, the ball just overhead again. Saka did get a toe to it, but goes straight out of play for a goal kick. And the referee clearly, it's all about the referee now, just managing this at the moment. Doesn't want to get carried away. Of course, that's what I said about it's how important how a referee kind of conducts themselves in a derby. Do you want to give that early yellow card and then put a precedent in a head where you have to give yellow cards for kind of successive fouls or kind of concurrent fouls afterwards? Or do you want to kind of let the game settle and not give yellow cards and let it flow a bit more? I think the referees kind of taken necessary action to give yellow cards, because maybe one, probably two, maybe I would probably say one of those yellow cards out of the 5 is probably a bit harsh, but other than that, the other 4 are pretty fair. I think Spurs look a bit unsettled at the moment. They've been rattled by Arsenal and their rugged edge physicality in this game so far. Corner for Arsenal, right hand side. Less than 5 minutes to go in the first half. 0-0. Arsenal with a set piece. Saka to deliver. Very deep. Brought down at the back post by Martinelli. Just keep it alive. Still going. And he just lost it there as a doggy got in his way. And doggy tries to clear it, but Martinelli gets the good beneficiary bounce. And Arsenal back on the ball again. Certainly ending this half the stronger of the two sides are the Gunners. Saka. Squares it across, flicked over the top by, I think that was Partey, it was, and the cutback from Havertz couldn't find Saka, and ultimately ends in a goal kick. But certainly Arsenal look a bit more kind of settled at this moment. And don't forget, this is only game 1 of 2 in our double header of Premier League commentaries this afternoon. This is certainly the big one. This is the headline maker, but Wolves against Newcastle is on the way at 4:30. Newcastle side who beat Spurs on match day 3 just before the international break. Haven't been at their best in terms of performances, but unbeaten after 3 games for Eddie Howe's Newcastle. They will face a Wolves side who are yet to win this season. 3 games, just 1 draw and 2 defeats to start the season for Wolves. A desperately needed result is on the cards, hopefully there for Wolves. They would hope a bit later on. 4:30 kickoff in that one. Certainly get the team news for you in around about half an hour's time or so. A doggy. That was a misplaced pass. I mean, it's been a very sloppy last few minutes from Spurs, although they've got the brick of the ball here. This is a good chance. Here's Brennan Johnson on the break, down that right hand side. This is a chance. Johnson blocked off by Timber. Good defending, and will be a Spurs corner. Just as I said, Spurs were a bit sloppy. They won the ball in the midfield. Arsenal got a bit overloading in the midfield and just bursting away were Tottenham. And the ball out wide to Brennan Johnson as he tries to take on Timber. Timber stands up well and puts it behind for the corner. 2 minutes or so of the first half to go. Cross delivered in, but Havertz there to clear it away from an Arsenal point of view again. Maddison will pick it back up for Tottenham. Maybe they want to have one last kind of push before the half. But I think, and I'll talk about it at half time about Tottenham and how the game's flowed. But similar criticisms, I would say, for Spurs that we've seen in the first couple of games. I'll talk about it certainly at half time, so do stay tuned for that one. The analysis comes at the break. Here's Van de Ven. Back to Vicario. Looking to try and target a forward man, and Solanke tries to lay it off to Kulusevski, but battling there was Timber. Did really well, did Jurrien Timber. And it's got Porro to ask, but Porro's going to get the benefit. And he's going to get the throw in there. The last touch off the Arsenal left back. So a throw in to Tottenham. Inside the Arsenal half. Bentancur. Van de Ven. Spurs have certainly controlled the possession. 67% of the ball in this first half for Tottenham. So certainly dominance on that front so far, but in terms of in front of goal, not been most enamouring from Tottenham so far. Johnson. Back to Bentancur. Now he tries to find Son in a bit of space at the edge of the box. Just settle there, does Son. Doesn't want to take the shot. Finds Porro. Now back to Bentancur. Van de Ven. Spurs commit more and more bodies forward. 3 added minutes at the end of the half. And Arsenal battling in the middle to win the ball, but Trossard a bit isolated and stolen away from him by Kulusevski. And now Brennan Johnson over the bar. Goodness me. It was just Leandro Trossard just gets himself in a muddle in the middle. Loses the ball, and Kulusevski does really well, winning the ball and then drifting and feeding it out to Brennan Johnson wide on the right. And the shot, he was always leaning back, he was always going over the bar on that occasion, and ultimately behind for the goal kick. 2 minutes to go of the first half. Saka, White, has to go down the line as Van de Ven come crunching in there on Kai Havertz, and now there's going to be a yellow card going out the way of someone here. Is Arsenal going to get the free kick? And there's a yellow card coming out. I think it's Kulusevski and Mickey Van de Ven are both going to get yellow cards. The referee giving out another 2 yellows. And I think ultimately the first challenge, the referee plays advantage on Mickey Van de Ven's challenge. And then the second one obviously ends up in a free kick where the referee has to stop the game. He can't leave Arsenal bodies lying everywhere. But free kick goes Arsenal's way, and 2 Spurs players get yellow cards. Just see it again. White tries to flick it forward and it goes down the line, but it takes a deflection. And then the challenge by Van de Ven is a crunching one. And then Kulusevski just dragging Jorginho back. So Mickey Van de Ven is in the book. And also is Dejan Kulusevski. So that in total is 5 yellow cards for Tottenham in this first half. 7 overall in the game. And Ange Postecoglou certainly not happy with a few of those yellows, but I don't think you can really argue with many of them. In a touchy game, they have been a bit kind of loose with their challenging Spurs at times. Arsenal ready to take this free kick. Emil Pop says Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1 in his match prediction, as we're about to hit the 3 added minutes mark. So Trossard to deliver this one in. Up in the air by Gabriel, but Spurs can clear that away through Johnson. It sends Son on the chase, but Timber had that one under control, and though he pumped it over the top and into the hands of Vicario. And that is the calling of the end of the first half. A first half where it started, where Spurs were massively on top, massively in control, but Arsenal maybe got their teeth into the game, got a grip and a foothold in it, and haven't really looked back since. They've probably been the better side to end the half, but a tetchy and really kind of emotionally high end to that first half sees a total of 7 yellow cards in this one. Half time in the North London derby. It's Tottenham 0, Arsenal 0.
Catch me if I fall.
Welcome back to Premier League Live here on this Sunday afternoon for our first of two Premier League commentaries this afternoon, and it is the North London Derby, of course, that we've been watching the first half of in the last hour or so. No goals yet, but certainly quite a lot to talk about at half-time in a very tetchy and kind of angry game between these two. And I did mention very early on in that first half, I think a tetchier, kind of more emotionally charged and passionate game would certainly benefit Arsenal more, not because they're not capable of playing Spurs in a straight match-up with football, but I just thought today Spurs just wanted to go a bit more smoothly. They have their settled team, they're comfortable in their rhythm, they're comfortable in their side, and maybe have a few things in the final third which they need to figure out themselves. But from an Arsenal point of view, there's no Odegaard, there's no Declan Rice, which gives them that control in midfield, which they didn't. I certainly think they didn't have in that first half, and that's one point that I will make. But they kind of counteracted that lack of control in midfield by making it a more stop-start game, a more kind of end-to-end game, and kind of making it a bit more less momentum based for Spurs, where Spurs wanted to control the possession and kind of take control and keep Arsenal in their own half and keep them defending constantly, whereas Arsenal breaking up the game, giving away free kicks, making it a bit more tetchy, a bit more kind of emotionally charged as the game went on. That's kind of when we saw Arsenal come into the game a bit more, when they did start throwing challenges in and winning free kicks and winning battles in those moments. We kind of saw more of what Arsenal have on offer this afternoon, and more of what they can offer in that sense. They were winning their duels, they were doing really well in moments against Spurs, and I think I would genuinely say, of course, being the away side adds to this as well, of course, albeit Arsenal want to win any game, no matter it's home or away, with a title challenge certainly on the cards, but a game away at Tottenham at half-time, 0-0, considering Tottenham wanted to dominate that first half. Probably did dominate the possession in the first half. That's probably the only thing they did dominate, really, over the grand scheme of that first half, to be honest. From a neutral point of view, I think Arsenal would be the happier of the two teams. I think going in at half-time, 0-0, still very much in control. The game's still very much in the balance. Spurs looking a bit kind of what's the word? I used it in the first half and I can't remember it. A bit rattled by Arsenal in that first half, because they wanted the control, they wanted a calm game, they wanted to slow the game down, they wanted to play it at their pace, and Arsenal kind of getting in their faces and making it tougher for them, making it a more physical battle, making it a more stop-start game, kind of unsettled Spurs, and I don't think they really kind of recovered the kind of control and the kind of real dominance that they had in the first 10-15 minutes once Arsenal got their foothold, and that's what I said just before we went to the break, is kind of when Arsenal got their teeth into Spurs and they were getting real joy out of certain moments, Tottenham looked a bit standoffish, a bit kind of unsettled, a bit nervous, a bit rattled, a bit kind of unsettled by it, and I think if they continue in that same vein, Arsenal, I think they will get a good benefit and a good result out of this one. Whether that be a win or a draw, I don't know what that may be, but I do see Arsenal getting a lot more out of this game as the game goes on, with it being more tetchy and nervy, considering the fact that there are 5 Spurs players on a yellow card. 2 of them defenders, 2 of them midfielders, and then of course the goalkeeper. But Arsenal need to be wary of that as well. They have 2 defenders on yellow cards themselves, but I think Spurs may be kind of stooping to Arsenal's level at times. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Arsenal, but it's that dirty side of the game, that kind of more rugged, kind of old style battle in a derby side of the game that we don't really see anymore in derbies. Very rarely do we see it, but this one always delivers that kind of rugged edgedness, and usually it was Spurs that were doing that to Arsenal to try and get a result. It seems like Arsenal have kind of flipped the tables on that today and said, no, we're going to do that, we're going to out-muscle you, we're going to out-battle you, and you can try and put in challenges, but you're going to end up getting yellow cards. And we've seen that Spurs have been just that slight bit late, or that slight bit kind of too eager to win the ball back in moments, and giving away free kicks and committing those fouls to give yellow cards, and kind of, in a sense, playing into Arsenal's hands at this point in the game. But look, a second half where both sides can really take a grip of the game and a real kind of stronghold in it, and can go on and win it. It's not that we're resigned to it being a game where both sides can't win it. Of course they can, and they have immense quality in both squads, both teams, to deliver that. You can name the amount of players that can do this, that can win these games. I mean, you combine it, probably 9 players in attacking positions can win this game for either side. 5 on a Spurs point of view, 4 from an Arsenal point of view, with the likes of Spurs having Maddison and Kulusevski in midfield, pushing further up. Son, Solanke and Brennan Johnson all can affect the game massively. And then you talk about Arsenal, the Saka, the Havertz, the Trossard, and then Gabriel Martinelli as well. Very attacking midfields from both teams in that sense. And I think it only goes to benefit the neutral and us watching, because it makes it more exciting, more kind of end-to-end, toe-to-toe battle in the game. And certainly you can see that both defences are kind of wavering on that front, considering 4 of the 8 defenders in the game are on yellow cards. So it's making it tough for defenders, albeit they've played out the first half with neither side conceding, but it's certainly making a tough game for the defenders on both sides. If we run through the stats in the first half, stats can be misleading at times, considering the fact that Spurs have had 2/3 of the possession. I got a bit excited there. 2/3 of the possession, 67% to Arsenal's 33%. But Arsenal and Spurs sharing the shots, 5 apiece in that first half. Very even in terms of the XG as well, where Arsenal 0.41, Spurs 0.42, so very little difference there. Vicario's had to make 3 saves, with Raya just the 1 so far. Arsenal having more corners than Spurs, 5 to their 3. But Spurs dominating the passing, as I said, 268 passes for Spurs to 128 of Arsenal in that sense. At this moment in time, Arsenal having more shots on target, though 3 of their 5 shots on target, just the 1 for Tottenham, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I want to analyse that main point. In terms of the final third, Spurs have made 103 passes in the final third, attempted 103 passes, of which 94 have been accurate. That's a 91% accuracy in the final third. Incredible. 30 out of 48 for Arsenal, that's 62%. Spurs more accuracy on long balls. Arsenal trying the long ball a bit more, but not as accurate with those. Arsenal more accurate on crosses, albeit less crosses, but more accurate with those crosses. In terms of the duels, Arsenal have won 56% of the duels, so it's not massively in their favour, but slightly so. Between aerial and ground duels, Arsenal a lot more successful in their dribbling. In terms of Spurs, defensively they've won 64% of their tackles compared to Arsenal's 50%, so certainly more beneficiaries in our Spurs winning the ball back. They've recovered the ball 21 times in that first half. Right, so that's all that point, but I want to bring it back to the shots on target point. And I did mention just before half time about similar kind of criticisms of Tottenham. When they dominate in games, and we've seen it in the Leicester game, we've seen it in the Newcastle game, maybe not in the Everton game, because Everton were a cup below anybody in this Premier League, considering they've lost all 4 games, so they're well below the wayside in terms of the quality that Spurs have come up against. But a Leicester side and a Newcastle that really kind of got under the teeth and under the skin, got the teeth into Spurs and got under the skin of Tottenham. In that sense, made it more difficult for them, made it tougher, made it more kind of a battle, but also at times knew when to drop off, knew when to step back, and knew when to kind of close spaces and kind of make it tough for Spurs to try and come and break them down. And that's been a similar theme throughout some of the games for Spurs this season, where they have dominated possession, they've controlled the ball, but they haven't converted it into chances in the final third and converted it into good opportunities. It's about converting the possession, good possession in a game, into good opportunities in the final third. Something that Spurs really haven't had a problem with previously, but we're seeing it more this season. Leicester did it really well, albeit Spurs should have absolutely wiped the floor with Leicester in that first half, but they didn't, and Spurs kept them in the game, and Leicester ended up getting that equaliser and probably could have won that game. So Spurs letting themselves down there by missing chances. The same again against Newcastle. They missed chances, let themselves down. Are we seeing a repeat of that today, where they had chances early on, they had opportunities, but only 1 shot on target from their 5 shots. So again, not being accurate enough in the final third, not getting kind of creating the chances where they probably should be with the amount of possession and the amount of control that they had in those early moments. Credit to Arsenal, though. I said how they were trying to defend Spurs, kind of dropping a winger in each side when they come down either side, Spurs, and it's worked so far. Albeit sometimes the runners off the ball have kind of opened Arsenal up a bit. But if they stay rigid in that, I think they'll defend this really, really well. And we're talking about last season's best defence for Arsenal. They were the best defence in the Premier League last season. And I don't think they've got worse. I think they've actually got better in that sense with Yuri and Timber at left back. So a very stubborn and hard to break down Arsenal side who had to go down to 10 before they conceded at any point this season, and have only conceded the one goal against Brighton. Spurs have work to do, Arsenal have work to do. We'll see who can have the benefit of it of the second half, which is on the way in just a couple of minutes. Do stay with us.
Catch me if I fall.
Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half-time, Arsenal and Spurs 0-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the North London derby. Still to come this afternoon, we have more Premier League action for you as Wolves take on Newcastle at Molineux at 4:30. Wolves side without a win this season in their first three games. Newcastle without a loss in their first three games. Can they turn the tables on that this afternoon, or will Newcastle remain one of the number of sides unbeaten this season? We will find out. If you're wondering why I haven't went through all the results from the Premier League weekend so far, 8 results that we haven't went through. There's all the scores on your screen, but I will go through them in our second game today because we've had so much to talk about from that first half. There was not enough time. So if you want me to run through all the results and all the scorelines from the weekend's games and all the storylines from this weekend so far in the Premier League, join us at half-time in the Wolves-Newcastle game. That is when we'll go through all of that. As well this week, it's not just Premier League that's coming up. Champions League is back. And we have 4 Champions League games this week for you. 4 to kick us off. And the new format, the new league format of the Champions League. All 18 teams in action this midweek. 6 on Tuesday night, 6 on Wednesday night, and 6 on Thursday night. And we will have 4 games for you. The early and late game on Tuesday night, and then the 2 8 o'clock kickoffs on Wednesday and Thursday, including Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City, and Aston Villa. All Premier League sides involved in our 4 games coming up. Right, that's to come in midweek, but we've another 45 minutes to go here at the North London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where at the moment, I'd say, as I said at half-time, Arsenal probably the happier of the two, but Spurs knowing that they can dominate this game, they can dominate the possession and control the game and make it their own, but it's about kind of overcoming that physical nature and kind of just outplaying Arsenal on that basis, and winning their duels, winning their battles, and not kind of stooping to Arsenal's level, in a want for a better phrase, but in terms of going into that physical battle. And ultimately, at the moment, Spurs coming out the losers in that physical battle because they've 5 yellow cards in that first half. So that's one thing to be very wary of for Ange Postecoglou in this second half. Spurs in their quick huddle before we get ready to get back underway. We will get team news from the late game between Wolves and Newcastle, a 4:30 kickoff. We'll get team news as soon as we have it for you, and I'll bring that to you at some point during this second half. We're ready to go then. Arsenal with through Mikel Arteta watching on the bench as Spurs get us back underway. They're kicking from left to right, Arsenal from right to left in the second half. As I said, these two sides played an absolute cracker here in April. A 5-goal thriller. It's been more of a cagey affair, a more kind of physical battle in that first half between the sides, albeit both going all out attack, just not without any joy in the final third for either team just yet. And that's something that we'll be watching on closely in this second half. The last time Arsenal got a clean sheet here was in the season before last, in January 2023, when they came here and won 2-0 on that occasion. So here's Martinelli going for the low one. I think he might have been just offside there anyway. I think the flag did go up, but Vicario caught it, so it didn't really matter. As now Spurs want to spring a break down the left-hand side. Son. White staying within a few yards of the Spurs captain. Laid it off to Madison. Back to Son again. Now Van de Ven to Romero. Well, one thing that I want to point out to you, I did say this is a good game. It always had an all-out attacking game, and it's born in the fact that the last time there was a 0-0 draw between Tottenham and Arsenal in an North London derby in any competition was back in February 2009. 15 years since there was a 0-0 draw between these two teams. Now, I'm not saying that we're kind of on the edge of that here, because we have a whole second half to go, but that, to put into context how many goals they score in these games, how kind of all out attacking these two teams, how they're always at loggerheads going one end to the other, that's borne out in the fact that there's not been a 0-0 draw since 2009. Incredible. So I'm certainly saying, albeit I'm not going to bet my house on it, because the Premier League is the Premier League and you never know. You can never predict anything, but I would certainly err on the side of there will be goals in this second half. Certainly. Solanke wins it back, does really well, finds Johnson across to Solanke, who was diving at that one. I think I might have took a deflection on the way through. It did. That's incredible work from Solanke. The hard work of the centre forward to win the ball back, start the move, and wanting to finish the move as well. Lays it off to Ben and Johnson. Johnson cuts it across the 18-yard box, and diving at it was Dominic Solanke. It did take a deflection from an Arsenal player, so it will be a Spurs corner. But that initiative from a centre forward is sometimes what you need in a game. Short corner by Kulishevsky. Madison. Left-footed to deliver. Flicked across. And the header by Van de Ven is into the hands of Raya. That was a really well-worked set piece, that from Spurs. Madison just waiting for the opportunity, then just whips a ball with his left, and Van de Ven just strides across everyone in there. No one marking him, and did really make a good amount of that header. There's another good battle and a good tussle. And it's going to be a yellow card and a free kick going Spurs' way. Yellow card for Jorginho. Yeah, it's just a tussle with Madison. Madison gets the better of him on the first one, on the bounce of the ball, and then Jorginho is already beaten on that, so he knows he has to bring him down, and a yellow card goes the way of the Arsenal midfielder. The 8th of the game in total. As I said, remember, last night between Bournemouth and Chelsea, Bournemouth had 6 yellow cards, Chelsea had 8. 14 in total was the most ever in a Premier League game. I'm not saying we're going to get to that point, but with 40 odd minutes still to go, we're already at 8 yellow cards in this game. It's a lovely threaded through ball. Here is Kulishevsky with a cutback, headed away by Gabriel. Now Brennan Johnson trying to battle with Martinelli, but Porro does well to commit himself, and Arsenal will get the throw. Stealing too many yards there, Urian Timber. Told to step a few yards back by the referee. Timber. Went for the 1-2 and the hoof ball over the top, but Havertz committing a foul before that ball was made, so free kick to Tottenham. Foul on Romero. I said on Friday night I would keep an eye on the Championship game this afternoon between Portsmouth and West Brom. A 3 o'clock kickoff. West Brom have taken the lead in that one. Josh Madja with a goal in the first minute. Portsmouth 0, West Brom 1 in the championship game. Kicked off at 3 o'clock. Kulishevsky. Back to Porro. And now Romero. Finding Bentancur on the half turn. Finding Kulishevsky now with a nice run. And the cross is found by Ben White, but he takes no risks and just puts it behind for the corner. As the Arsenal right back. Maybe a few nerves sensed here from Arsenal there early on. Corner incoming. Early defending for Arsenal to do. Spurs have the option of a short corner there on the left hand side, but I think they're going to leave that one. Madison's going to take this one. Left hand side, right footed delivery in. Swinger flicked on the front post, but wasn't gathered at the back post as Van de Ven tries to rescue something, but Partey does well. And Arsenal try and burst away with Trossard, but well closed down. Although Trossard does really well against Kulishevsky to win it back again. Arsenal under pressure from the press of Porro, and Gabriel gets the throw. Goodness me. Timber will take this throw in on the left hand side. Deep in his own half. And the Spurs crowd certainly singing along and cheering their side along, creating that atmosphere that can really be testing inside this stadium. As Timber goes for the long throw, bounces into Havertz's path, and he couldn't guide it past Romero. Out for another Arsenal throw. Gets them across the halfway line. Timber moves it back to Gabriel. Now Partey. Across to Saliba. Down the right hand side comes White. Plays it infield to Saka. White continued on the overlap, but Saka goes back to Saliba. Nice Saka again. Still got Ben White ahead of him, but still not eyeing up that pass. And Saliba there on the ball once more. Lays it off to Ben White, who was backtracking, but Arsenal got a bit loose in that occasion, and Son winning the throw in there for Tottenham off William Saliba. Game has gone a bit, I wouldn't say sloppy, but certainly a few turnovers in possession. No one's really dominated the control of the ball at the start of the second half, really. Although Spurs desperate to. Here's Romero. Looks to charge it through up the middle, but too much and nowhere near Pedro Porro, who was telling him to go wide. But Romero forced it straight through, and David Raya will gather for Arsenal. Of course, we haven't taken into account already that this weekend that the international break has been a big factor, albeit Martin Odegaard injured because of the international break, obviously. But other than that, I'm talking about the players on the field today. We haven't really taken into consideration how much football they've played over the international break. Kind of when did they get back to their team? How many training sessions have they done this week? And that kind of leaves these two sides maybe not at their very best, but certainly a lot of quality as Trossard. Or not Trossard, sorry. Martinelli tried to find the run of Havertz, but Timber there trying to follow up. That's fantastic defending by Romero. Does really well, and now Brennan Johnson wins the throw in, and I think Romero's maybe hurt himself in making that challenge, as he's just gone down here for the moment, but I think he might just need a bit of treatment. Does Christian Romero, so we'll see what happens on that occasion. He was a big player last season, Christian Romero. He scored here at one of Spurs' 2 goals against Arsenal last season, but scored an own goal in the reverse fixture last season as well. So certainly involved in goal scoring at both ends in this fixture last campaign. As Arsenal ready for this throw in, or Spurs, sorry, taking this throw in on the right hand side. Porro to take, as Romero is okay, back on his feet. Porro throws down the line, flicked on by Solanke, but Arsenal there to pick up the loose pieces. Back in possession with Saliba. Across to White. Has to come back infield. He's pressed back to his keeper in David Raya. Spurs looking to close down any open spaces as Jorginho lays it off to Saliba. Spurs incessant in their press. It's Partey trying to spin away. Ultimately running to bother and giving the ball away. Maddison. Bentancur maybe got a bit of a muddle there, but Maddison keeps the ball. Now to Bentancur. Porro tried to create the width, but ended up losing the ball. As committed was Bentancur, but now Arsenal get the break of the ball, and here's Havertz. He's got Martinelli and Saka. Tries to drift it in behind for Martinelli, but gave too much notice to Mickey van de Ven, who got across really well to close down that decent attacking move from Arsenal. A decent attacking opportunity for Arsenal, I should say. Timber across to Partey. Now White to Saka. Up against the doggy. Saka back to White. White for the cross. Far too close to Vicario, who gathered comfortably there. Under no real threat at all was the Spurs keeper on that occasion. Romero. Spurs playing out from the back, and Arsenal just trying to press those moments, but Van de Ven comfortable, striding forward, plays it into midfield for Kulusevski on the spin, finds Porro, good football. Now down the right hand side comes Johnson. This is a good moment for Spurs. Johnson breaking into the box. Johnson across and booted behind by Gabriel. They're really not taking any risks with these crosses, are Arsenal so far. Ben White's pumping one behind for a corner earlier on, and Gabriel's just done the exact same. Brennan Johnson just goes low and hard with the cross. Doesn't run a whip at this time. Goes low and hard across the 18-yard box. Solanke was probably the target, but Gabriel cleared it behind for the corner, which Kulusevski will take. Right hand side. Not just yet though. Referee not allowing them to take it just yet, as he wants to have a chat with a few players. So get another chance for a delivery there. Will Kulusevski in a moment. Well, a draw would see Arsenal 4 points off Man City after 4 games in the league. They meet next weekend, of course, at the Etihad. So a huge back-to-back weekend for Arsenal. 2 big away games. A big corner to defend here. Kulusevski goes short, finds Porro. Porro to cross it to the back post, but too much pace on that one. Solanke will try and keep it in, but failed in his attempt, albeit a decent attempt to try to, as he tries to win it back again, but a bit too overeager that time. Dominic Solanke, and free kick goes Arsenal's way. From a Spurs point of view, a draw here would see them sit in 11th, 5 points after their first 4 games in the league, so that would see them already 3 points off top 4, albeit it's very early in the season. It's far too early to be counting numbers and positions and points and all that at this stage. It's all about getting the best result, and here come Arsenal. Timber looking to cross it, but well closed out. Now Trossard was the target, but Spurs wanting to come back. Maybe the game's starting to open up a bit more. Son trying to drag White out of position. Does well, finds Kulusevski. Lots of Arsenal bodies filling the pitch, but down the right hand side comes Brennan Johnson, looking to drive infield. Johnson onto his left, pretty tame effort, rolled into the path of Raya, who gathered as we hit the hour mark in North London. Still 0-0. Arsenal trying to go for these long balls, trying to find balls in behind at the moment. It's where they're trying to break Spurs down. Clearly that's something they've spotted at half-time and from that first half where they're trying to exploit. But so far Spurs dealing with that situation really well. It's something that Spurs kind of were kind of naive about last season, playing such a high line. They were being caught out on the counter and balls in behind and over the top. But this season we haven't really seen very much of that kind of naivety. I think they've worked upon that high line and worked on how to kind of measure that moment, but also play a high line, but also get back in the right moments, kind of find the balance between the two. And I think Arsenal have kind of tried that so far in the second half, but I don't think they've got any joy, considering they haven't had a shot in the second half, Arsenal. So that's clearly an example of where Spurs are just edging them on that front. Porro to take this throw in on the right hand side, and it goes long into the box as Arsenal get defenders in the way, and Martinelli just puts that out for the corner. It's a no nonsense approach again from Arsenal in and around that byline. Another Spurs corner incoming. It'll be Spurs' 7th corner of the game, considering they only had 3 in the first half. They already had 4 already in the first 16 minutes of this second half. So Maddison to deliver. Into the box it comes, and Romero was the closest, but couldn't make anything of that in the end there. Spurs look to keep it alive with Porro. Porro looking for the delivery, but from a long distance gets a bounce there. Does Johnson. Well closed off. Maddison now with a cross. Headed away, and Trossard hoofing it up the pitch, and now it's a straight race here for Havertz. Up against Van de Ven. Gets spun by Havertz, does Van de Ven, and now Arsenal keep it going. Saka, as Martinelli was fouled. Here comes Bukayo Saka, whose shots charged down well. Bodies on the line from Spurs and Arsenal at either end. Saka looking for the cross again. Gets the corner. Very draining game for both defences. It is incredibly physical. And an end-to-end game and absolutely drained both teams. They're both in action in midweek. Different competitions, albeit, but both in action. Tell you about that in a moment. As just checking Pedro Porro here. He's in a bit of pain. He gets back to his feet though, but took a fair while to get back to his feet. And Arsenal get a corner. Their first of the second half, of which Saka will take on the right hand side. Whistle goes, ready to be taken. Saka to deliver. Left footed, in swinging. All the way through! And it's headed in by Gabriel. Arsenal, who've been pretty clinging on for the majority of this second half, get the deadlock broken. And they take the lead. Spurs again, failing to take their chances and punished at the other end. Arsenal with their first shot of the half, their first corner of the half, and Gabriel above everyone else, towering above the Spurs defence. No chance for Vicario. A rocket of a header. I mean, it's criminal from Spurs' point of view. A dominant player of that sense in the 6-yard box, given a free header, is as criminal as it comes, and Vicario has no time to react, and Spurs caught cold by what has been a very different Arsenal that we have seen this afternoon. An Arsenal that's had to dig deep and use the physical and dirty side of the game to keep themselves in it, and so far it is working perfectly for Mikel Arteta's Gunners. Tottenham 0, Arsenal 1. And Arsenal, who've had the better of the North London derbies as of recent times, are seemingly having the better of it here again as they take the lead. And I'm sure Mikel Arteta, he's celebrating with his coaching staff and loving this moment. And set pieces more often than not in very tight games are the difference. Arsenal, who have been on fire from set pieces, not only this season but last season. It's been one of their biggest kind of scapegoat ideas of getting a goal from somewhere. And their incredible quality from set pieces, their delivery and their dominance in and around the box, winning headers and getting goals from those moments is unmatched at times. And that's where they have found that slight edge on their opponents this afternoon. The game is far from over. 24.5 minutes to go, and Spurs, who, again, I said it at half-time, I said it at the end of the first half, Spurs dominating possession, controlling the game, but again failing to do anything in the final third, failing to really test David Raya on many occasions in this game. And that is the problem. That's the issue, where Spurs are just failing in the final third, not being clinical enough, not being potent or threatening enough. And it's a similar theme in 3 of their 4 games this season. Not taking gilt-edged chances, not creating them to begin with, and just really failing to be accurate in the final third. And that has just sprung what is going to be a double substitution here for Spurs. So Rodrigo Bentancur is going to make way. He's going to be replaced by Pap Sarr. And Brennan Johnson is going to be replaced as well. And coming on in his place is going to be Wilson Odobert. So Odobert and Sarr on, replacing Bentancur and Johnson. Remember as well, 4 of the Spurs players on the field now, as Bentancur's just went off, 4 of them are on a yellow card. Kulishevsky, Udogie, Van de Ven and Vicario. So that's another kind of spin to this game. 3 Arsenal players on a yellow card as well, Saliba, Jorginho and Timber. So still, that's maybe another aspect to this game that could maybe turn the tables in the latter stages as we enter the final quarter of this game. And when scoring first since January 2022, 67 games Arsenal have scored first since that time, and they have lost just once on that occasion. 57 wins, 11 draws and just 1 defeat. 9 draws, 1 defeat on that occasion. Ultimately, so they very rarely lose when scoring first, do the Gunners. And they've done that again here this afternoon, and something that Spurs really need to figure out. Those that double substitution, maybe that can spark something in the final third for Tottenham. And I said it when the team news came out. I looked at the Spurs team and I said, that's a very attacking Spurs midfield. 5 of their players, 5 attackers really, only 1 defensive-minded midfielder, and that's Rodrigo Bentancur. Maddison and Kulishevsky very attack-minded, and then the front 3, of course. So it was more a fact of Spurs committing so many bodies forward, so many kind of attacking players. But maybe it's whether that Arsenal defended them really well, or the contrary to that, the fact that they've just gotten in each other's way in a sense. There's too many attackers for Spurs' point of view. Too many kind of, we talk about the too many cooks analogy in that front. So maybe that could be the problem. But look, it's a diagnosis that's not uncommon for Spurs this season. 3 of their 4 games, they've had good chances that they haven't taken. And probably this afternoon's been more concerning because they haven't really massively tested David Raya at all. Although here comes Udogie. Tried to cross it in, but again, a bit of a flat cross, and Arsenal can defend that and clear it away pretty comfortably. Saka. 20 minutes to go. Spurs really need to get moving, although they're going to have to defend this moment because Christian Romero has just committed a foul on Trossard. It is a foul. It's nothing more than a foul, but it is certainly a free kick for Arsenal, no doubt about that. questions about that one. Trossard has stayed down for the moment, so maybe he'll need to receive a bit of treatment. I can tell you, I did mention I'll get team news from our later game between Wolves and Newcastle. Kicks off at 4:30 this afternoon, and let's just tell you what the teams are for that one. So Wolves, without a win this season, remember, under Gary O'Neill, 3 games, 2 defeats and 1 draw. Sam Johnson starts in goal. Nelson Semedo, Yerson Mosquera, Craig Dawson and Ryan Ait-Nouri the back 4. Jean-Richter Bellegarde, Andre, Mario Lamina the captain, and Mateus Cunha at the midfield 4, with João Gomez a bit further forward, just shadowing Jorgen Strand Larsen, the centre forward for Wolves. For Newcastle, in their away strip this afternoon of a strange blue and red mix. I don't really like the kit, but anyway, Nick Pope in goal, Livramento, Scher, Byrne and Hall in defence, Guimaraes, Longstaff and Joe Linton in midfield, with Murphy, Gordon and Isak up front for Eddie Howe's team, who are unbeaten this season, 2 wins and a draw from their first 3 games. Newcastle, so both sides a lot to work for in that game. Kicks off at 4:30 this afternoon. Here's Son. Now Spurs want a counter. Here's Kulishevsky. Finds it out to Audebert as the referee plays advantage as Kulishevsky was fouled. Here's Wilson Audebert up against Timber. And look at the many Arsenal bodies flooding back. And Audebert just had no room to manoeuvre or any teammates with him. But Spurs get the throw in though from the Arsenal clearance. Porro finds Kulishevsky, who broke into the box. Keeps it alive. Here finds Son. Cuts it back. Maddison. Maybe too many passes from Spurs. No one wanted to take the shot. And it ended up out the other end for another throw-in on the left-hand side. Kulishevsky passed it to Son. Son passed it to Maddison. Maddison tried to find Solanke. And not a single one of their attackers took a shot. Although here comes a shot from distance from Papsar. But that one will be easily gathered by Raya. But, I mean, there's 5 of them there. Audebert won the throw-in. Porro takes the throw-in, finds Kulishevsky, who lost his balance, fair enough. Couldn't take the shot. Then finds it to Son. Son decides not to shoot. Passes it to Maddison. Maddison decides to pass it and not shoot. And then Solanke couldn't get on the end of the ball. I mean, you're not going to score goals by passing it around the 18-yard box. Someone has to take a chance, take a shot. You never know. None of them did, and that's another problem for Spurs. You need to take shots. And considering Arsenal have had 2 shots in the second half, Spurs have had 5. That's as many as they had in the whole of the first half. So certainly a lack of efficiency from Spurs again in the final third. 10 shots in total. Yet they trail. As Martinelli coming back from an offside position there as he received the ball. So free kick to Tottenham. And I think Andrew Trossard's having a change of shirt here. Maybe blood of some sort on that shirt. Nonetheless, Trossard had to change his shirt. He did. And they were ready for that Arsenal on the sideline. It was a pretty quick switching of the Germans' shirts. German. Belgian? German. He's Belgian, isn't he? He is. I read that I got the wrong flag. Nonetheless, the Belgian did change his shirt in Andrew Trossard. Here's Audebert. Son looked to flick it back to Audebert, but a bit loose as Timber closed that one down, and Arsenal hoof it away again. Just over 15 minutes to go. Tottenham 0, Arsenal 1. Arsenal, heading into the final few minutes last season, had to cling on after Spurs crawled 2 goals back from Arsenal leading 3-0. They did hold on. It's now holding on to a 1-goal advantage as we enter the final 15 minutes here, with Spurs looking for that, desperate for that equaliser. Romero to Son, who's trying to get on the ball more, coming a bit deeper, finds Sarr. Arsenal camped on the edge of their own box at the moment, very compact and not much space in between the lines, although that's a nice ball round the corner for Sarr, although has to come wide with Son. Again, Arsenal just shuffling across. Again, comes down the left here. with cross comes in from Madison, and Solanke was there, Gabriel was there. Neither could get any on the end of that one, and goal kick incoming. Wonderful cross by Madison. Solanke the target surely, but got in a tussle with Gabriel. I mean, there's nothing in that in terms of a penalty shout, but ultimately in the end, goal kick. Saka went back to Raya there, had to go long this time, and Havertz trying to get on the end of this one, does bring it down, but Romero tussling and winning that battle does Kai Havertz, and the throw in goes Arsenal's way, which gets a cheer from that away end in the far corner. Partey to Jorginho, now White. Lovely combinations. Here's White, just offside, as Trossard will have the shot, but charged down. The flag was up against Ben White anyway, so it comes to nothing. It's good interchange of play, lovely quick one-touch passing, and White just couldn't get himself back onside in time before Saka did make the pass. But it's Arsenal not really in a necessary need of a goal. They're just looking for the moment just to steady this game, trying to run the clock down as much as they possibly can. Odegaard to Sarr to Madison. A doggy down the left with Son. Back with Madison, who will cross it in, but a lot on that one and far too much as it goes straight out of play for a goal kick. I mean, that's certainly not one of his best, and I think they're going to make a change here in the minute, Spurs. Timo Werner's getting ready on the sidelines, so another change incoming, and at the moment Jorginho's gone down for Arsenal, so there's already a stop in play. He's back to his feet though, Jorginho. So it was maybe a bit of cramp, or maybe a bit of time wasting, who knows. Arsenal ready to make changes of their own in a moment. Raheem Sterling is going to make his debut very shortly. That's up and coming. And of course, obviously, Gabriel Jesus. So two very attacking changes for Arsenal on the way. And another one from Spurs and Timo Werner as well. So changes afoot for both teams in a few moments. And that will stoppage here. We'll see a prompting. Changes incoming in a moment, I'm guessing. Are they ready to take them yet? I think they will not make them. They are making them. Just as I say that. Changes incoming then. And the one for Tottenham is coming first. James Maddison is going to make way. Timo Werner is going to be coming on, so an extra attacker in a sense. Albeit James Maddison, a very attacking midfielder, but Timo Werner more of an all-out and out attacking forward. So he's going to be coming on to replace Madison. And the Arsenal changes, are going to be Leandro Trossard. He's going to make way for Gabriel Jesus. That's going to be one of those changes. And the second change is going to see Raheem Sterling introduced for the very first time, and he's going to replace Gabriel Martinelli. So what I'm guessing going to happen here for Arsenal is Jesus will go up front, Havertz will drop into midfield, or just behind the attack, and Sterling will go to the left. Saka continues on the right, clearly. So Sterling, 29. He's been at Liverpool, at Manchester City, Chelsea, and now he is at Arsenal. Certainly had a way of it. Certainly had his way with a number of Premier League clubs, as Raheem Sterling. And he's on to make his debut for another this afternoon, albeit only a loan deal for Sterling for the season. after he was told by Enzo Maresca, the Chelsea manager, that he had no future at the club. He's not part of his plans. Well, he's certainly part of Mikel Arteta's plans and Arsenal's plans, and he's on to try and make an impact later on and just try and see this one out, albeit be there if he can try and get a second for Arsenal, but not the priority at this moment. 10 minutes to go. Spurs 0, Arsenal 1. Gabriel's goal that could be the winner at this moment, unless something comes of Spurs. Porro finds Audebert, steps in field, back to Sarr. Kulishevsky on the turn, finds Porro on the overlap. Porro with a cross, just a bit too high again, and Saka will clear it away. Havertz in a tussle. The referee says no foul. Just a real clash between those two as Spurs back on the ball again. Son, now Porro. Porro with a cross early this time, not dealt with initially. There's a Spurs player on the floor as Sarr will shoot from distance wide. They wanted maybe a penalty shout there, Spurs, sorry. Arsenal didn't really do well at clearing that cross from Porro. Porro with a low with a kind of early cross, dipping as it came into the box. Partey tried to clear it, and then see it. Gabriel, I think, stretches to win this challenge. And to be fair, he did make contact with Solanke, but I don't think it will be enough for a penalty. No, it won't. So Spurs fans may be wanting that, but not coming their way. As it stands then, with Arsenal winning, it would mean they would go second in the table, 2 points behind Manchester City, a point ahead of Liverpool, who have occupied second. And Spurs would sit in 13th at the moment, on 4 points after 4 games. Having picked up 4 points from their first 2 games, it looks like they're, as it stands, not going to pick up a single one from their last 2. Either side of the international break. Although, can they have a say later on here? Is Audebert breaking forward? Goes early into the box. Headed away by Saliba. Back with Romero. Audebert gone wide. Back to Saliba. Or not Saliba, sorry, Romero. Wrong team. Pap Sarr now to a doggy, finding Werner. Werner back across. Spurs just trying to find a way through at the minute. Porro back to Romero. At the moment, this stubborn Arsenal defence is holding firm as Son tried to make an angle, but booted away by Arsenal as Vicario just tries to keep Spurs on the offensive at the moment. Here's Werner down the left-hand side. Chips it into the box and booted away by Timber, who got there first. But again, a bit of momentum coming for Spurs here. Keeping it in the right area as Saka goes down, which certainly doesn't make him a popular figure inside the stadium, albeit probably not a popular figure at the start of the game. And he's certainly not making it any better for himself as he's boos ringing around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Saka, who has had his issues with injury, I'll give him that. Whether that's genuine or not, we don't know. There's all sorts of mind games. Arsenal have kind of leaned in, shall we say, on the dirty side of the game today, albeit incredibly well. And maybe this could be another idea of kind of being a bit teasing, shall we say. Saka eking out a few minutes, a few seconds, although the referee, I'm sure, will add it on to the end as he receives treatment at the moment, Saka, so it looks to be genuine. That stoppage, Spurs fans still not convinced. But we see this goal again. I mean, I said it at the time, it was criminal defensively from Spurs. The fact that you allow one of Arsenal's centre-backs inside your 6-yard box to have a free header is really criminal. And to be honest, I don't want to pinpoint a single Spurs player because it's terrible defending all round. But the man that was marking Gabriel, Christian Romero, just got absolutely shoved off the ball, or shoved away far too easily, and left Gabriel kind of on his own in and around the edge of the 6-yard box. And when you get a chance like that, it is almost impossible to miss from that area, and there was no missing that one. from Gabriel. As Saka is back to his feet. And I think they are going to make that change then. So it does look to be a genuine issue for Bukayo Saka. So they're going to make another change. And it is going to be Ethan Nwaneri that's going to make way. Remember, he is the youngest ever player to feature in a Premier League game. Ethan Nwaneri. And he makes his appearance this afternoon. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, his first North London Derby appearance for the Gunners. Has been on the bench in previous games. Didn't make an appearance at any point this season in Arsenal's 3 previous games. Did have a good international break though, did Ethan Nwaneri. Scored a goal for England's under-19s in the international break, albeit in a 3-2 defeat to Germany's under-19s. And did get an assist in a friendly game in the summer. But nonetheless, it's all about Arsenal defending these last few minutes, and Spurs have a free kick here. 3 minutes or so of normal time to go. Ball delivered. Again, cleared away by Arsenal. Not fully this time though, but Son has it on the right. Tracked all the way back by Timber. A doggy though, gets it back. Gets it at the back, sorry. Sarr. Now Son. Can Son offer something from a deeper position? They're taking too much time here, Spurs. The crowd are getting frustrated at their slow tempo of game, but they have to find a breakthrough at the moment. They're not finding it just yet. Werner to Sarr. Sarr trying to squeeze it through the middle, but Arsenal close that one down and now want to maybe counter themselves. Here is Nwaneri, and Havertz is miles offside there. He knows he's offside. He got the ball, and he just tries to waste a few seconds by carrying it forward. And he's now having a bit of a mess about with Vicario there. As Spurs will take their free kick quickly. Not wanting to waste any precious seconds. Seconds that could be needed. Cross into the box, and the header by Romero is right into the hands of David Raya. It's probably Spurs' best opportunity in the last 20-30 minutes or so. I think it's just commit, give everything, just throw everything at it now. Nothing to lose at this late stage, Tottenham. Just throw everything at it. As Raya clears, but Spurs win it back instantly. Sarr looking to find it out to the right hand side. Audebert in a tussle with Timber. Audebert losing that battle, and Sarr losing the tussle as well. And now Arsenal want a counter. Here's Raheem Sterling. Sterling drifting into the box onto his right foot. Sterling not able to take the shot. Took too much time on the ball, and now Spurs want to break up the other end. Audebert finds Kulishevsky. Kulishevsky looking for the early cross. Headed or punched away. Cleared away by Gabriel. Arsenal still clinging on. Hanging on in there. Spurs desperate for that equaliser. Desperate to find the breakthrough as Kulishevsky get in with an early cross, but again cleared away by Gabriel. Sarr to Porro now. Back to Pap Sarr. Van de Ven. Udogie. Wide to Werner. Timo Werner looking to take on White. Werner's cross is again gathered by the Arsenal keeper, who is destined to keep a clean sheet this afternoon. He is on the verge of it. Without any bias, would help my fantasy team. But anyway, that's not important. 90 minutes up. How long will be added on? There will be 5 added minutes. Spurs had a few late comebacks last season. Early in the season, the Sheffield United game springs to mind when they were 1-0 down going into added time and ended up winning 2-1. It would be some feat if they were to do it here, but Never say never, albeit Arsenal at this moment in time having the ball, which is certainly not what Spurs want to see. Nwaneri back to White. Partey get beaten there in the one-on-one battle, and now Son wants to spring a counter for Spurs. Here is Audebert. He's got space down this right-hand side, but look at the many Arsenal bodies back. 7 of them already in the box, waiting for whatever Audebert can deliver. Plays it to Kulishevsky, who will strike it! And it's not too far away. Just too far over the top. Just got the space to unleash an effort, and it was targeting that top left corner, and it just goes over the bar from Dejan Kulishevsky. And that would have been a wonderful response. As Gabriel Jesus wins player of the match. Gabriel Jesus. That's the wrong graphic. Gabriel, the centre-back that's won, that could win the game here. That's got player of the match. So Gabriel, Arsenal's hero at the minute. Unless he's getting player of the match as it stands from the broadcaster. Van de Ven to Romero. Spurs need to get the ball up the field. 3 minutes to go. That's a nice ball by Romero. Finds Audebert on the run. Audebert looking to tick on Timber. Gets the cross in, but too narrow and too close to Raya, who again grabs it with both hands and holds it tight to his chest. As the clock continues to tick down. Two and a half minutes. We have seen today, Arsenal, I think they're going to get a free kick here. We've seen today that Arsenal can do it the hard way. Do it without their talisman Martin Odegaard. Do it without Declan Rice in midfield. Do it the dirty way. Do it the digging deep in the game. Relying upon a set piece or a moment of individual brilliance to get them over the line. And that's the sign of winners, of champions. A mentality that so necessarily needed if you want to win a league title. That is the clear objective of Arsenal. Of course it is. And doing it in a game where you've had a terrible international break. Here comes Jesus. They could run it off here. And runs into bodies. As Werner picks it back up, now Spurs want to spring a counter once more. There maybe is one last twist in the tail. 90 seconds to go. Werner coming forward. He's got lots of Arsenal bodies in his wake, but finds Romero of some sort up the field, but has no option to take. Plays it back to Audebert, who will strike it! And the deflection could have went anywhere. I think it was an offside anyway in there on one of those. I think there might have been an offside. Yeah, there was, off Werner. Yeah, no doubts about that one. Goal kick, or free kick to Arsenal. Offside. Last minute of the game. Another day where Spurs have been frustrated by their opponent. And I would have to argue they could probably only blame themselves again, Tottenham. They've been the better side. They've been the better... Well, not the better side. They've played the better football at times. They've had more possession. They've had more chances. They've had more shots. They've had more of the game than anything that Arsenal have had. But it's all about being clinical. It's all about finding the net. And a similar diagnosis and criticism of Tottenham is they just, at the minute, cannot take gilt-edged chances, cannot put the ball in the back of the net consistently. Something that Arsenal seem to have found the knack for at this moment in time, even though it may just be from a set piece. Porro to deliver one maybe last chance for Spurs. The 5 minutes are up. Is there one last attack, one last opportunity? Son breaking free. Heung-min Son Well charged down by the young 17-year-old Wanyeri. Spurs still come. The referee lets it run. Odebear. Now Van de Ven. Lots of Spurs bodies. It's now or never. Werner round the corner. And that should be seen out by Saliba. And that's it. The final whistle blown. The North London derby is over. And Arsenal again getting the spoils. Getting the result and the 3 points. No Martin Odegaard, no Declan Rice. No problem for Arsenal. They maybe had to dig deep and fight to the very death for it and hold off Tottenham for the vast majority of the second half. But that Gabriel header, a rocket of an effort from a corner. Or Spurs say they'll probably should have defended better. But it doesn't matter. Gabriel's header, the ultimate goal from a set piece that has got Arsenal all 3 points. A clean sheet to go with it as well. And another performance. Maybe had to do it the hard way, but champions find a way. No matter what happens, they always find a way to win. And that is exactly what Arsenal have done here today. Spurs, many's a chance, many's an opportunity. But once again, nothing to show for it. Final score in the North London derby. Tottenham 0, Arsenal 1. Wow, what a result for the Gunners. All the talk coming into this game this week that Arsenal might struggle on the road in a North London derby without two of their very best players. But that's digging deep and getting a result no matter what the circumstance is exactly a champions-like status and mentality, and something that Mikel Arteta has tried to drill into his team, and they are giving him the results to show it. 3 wins from their first 4 games, 10 points out of a possible 12, keeps them on the coattails of Manchester City, who are the only side to win all 4 of their first 4 games of the season. Arsenal are on their coattails again, and they've had to do it the hard way. But ultimately, all that matters is that they get the 3 points and the victory. And Spurs again, back-to-back defeats in games where they probably should have won, or at least got something out of. Work to do for Tottenham. They head into the League Cup game in the week, needing a result. Arsenal head to Europe, to the Champions League. They head to Bergamo to face Atalanta on Thursday night. And then the big one comes next week, when they head to the Etihad to take it to Manchester City again. They went searching for a draw last season. I'm sure a win is certainly the objective for Arsenal. But they'll have to come up against the City side, who haven't dropped a single point as of yet. That's all to come. Don't forget, we have another game on the way very shortly. Wolves against Newcastle. Kick off in around 30 minutes' time. Join us from Molineux for that one. For now, thanks very much for your company, and see you in around about 25 minutes' time. Wolves Newcastle on the way and very shortly. Do stay with us.